Hello, Syzygy Podcast. So today's episode is a little bit of a turnaround. Last week, Nadi interviewed me concerning my military career and my journey into intimacy coaching and meditation. And this week, after a very lively talk yesterday, we've decided to interview Nadi. And I would love to preface it this way. So I have never dated a true artist. I dated creative women before who maybe did art on the side, but I never dated someone that was like, when I go on a first date, she says, "No, I'm an artist. That is all I do, is I paint." And what she means by artist is she's a painter. And her walls are filled with her own paintings. That's one of the rules in her house, is only her paintings go on the wall. um she does face paint every once in a while. It's just a little side hustle, but um primarily she paints because she loves it. As she said, um she paints because if she doesn't, it's almost like she's not breathing. So I have witnessed since the beginning of our dating relationship just over a year and a half ago, you go through this up and down heartbeat. God bless you. You didn't hear it, but she sneezed because she muted herself. But um she we went you went through this up and down thing, and I've been trying to deeply listen. And so one of my superpowers is deep listening, especially when I'm in love. I will listen to every single thing to understand the person I'm in love with, because that makes it easier to be in a relationship. So I've been trying to understand you, get my coming from a military background where my creativity, my inner artist was not unleashed or encouraged or fanned. I've been trying to get you. And yesterday, the conversation started as, sometimes it appears that artists or creatives, like artists that create movies or music, whatever, seem kind of selfish in a way and seem to block people out. And you gave me the final reason why. So, this whole podcast is going to be centered around your artist journey, similar to how we did in your summit, but also, where are you now? What is your mission? What is the flame that you want to fan in this planet? So, without further ado, the great artist, Nadia Marks Shafton. Um, Tell us, let's go from the beginning. I already know the story, but painting, how did it start for you? When did you see it come alive? And not just painting, but your mystical side, which, in all honesty, they seem to go together for you.
Yeah, thank you for that incredible intro. That that is why it's one of the many reasons I love you, is because you are so keen on getting to know me, my mind, my stories. You've been such a crucial part of my journey over the last year and a half, because it's one thing to just be a mystical artist. It's another to have a mirror of what that actually means, because I don't even know. Like, I'm just kind of living it and, yeah, doing my best to keep this flame alive. Um, and in some level of the spectrum of distraction to full on clarity. And you just being a constant presence and a, not just even a cheerleader, but like deep diver to understand what it is that I'm really doing. And yesterday you prompted me. What was your prompt yesterday? I can't remember because I just like went into a different reality.
Well, one of the key things about dating a mystical woman is that um, you have these moments of a full body like transformation. It's as if you're having a psychedelic moment, and they can just happen. And it's like you call them downloads. I think other people might call them too. But and what we mean by downloads is something from the quantum level, the spirit level, something outside of you, or seemingly outside of you, is now passing information into you, and it's passing it to every cell. So we were coming out of our disagreement into this conversation, and when I finally saw what it really was why an artist would seem selfish, why that can even be my projection of you, is you're like, I was like, you're like, the whole world is telling me to get a real job. Members of my family telling me to get calling me a dreamer as if that's a bad thing, and that you're protecting this little candle of light that is really your inner child for the past, like, you're like, the fact that I've made it this far, most people don't get this far, to last 15 years still believing and holding this candle as an artist. And then you're like, and even my own possibility of blowing my own candle out, because I don't even know what this thing is for. So I gave you an invitation to go into the space, the full body experience visual, because I felt it coming. Other times it's been triggering to me because you like just do it without warning in the midst of a road trip, and I'm like, what is happening? I'm stuck in a car with this woman right now. And so I allowed you to do it, and I entered my own meditation through it. So I was kind of like, it was this in this unique exchange of information. um and it's because I've seen what you've done in my life by allowing my creativity, my inner child, to shine, and I've felt the change in myself. And it's not a painter, but it's so fun. And I'm like, well, of course, yeah, this gets to be here too. And now that I'm an entrepreneur too, I'm like, I just want to be sourced in my being and my fun, what lights me up. And I've only been doing this for a few months, so I can only imagine what it's been like year in and year out, to not be sourced or feel like I can't just be me. I'm supposed to go be a waitress and then do my art. What the heck is that about? So I felt this revolution, and we've been working, balancing it with the studies of these different gurus that we know, where it's like, be humble, have no attachment, kind of a thing, which is like one part of a greater truth. But then it's like, but I'm here, and I'm now, and I'm me. Is that the drink from last night still?
Well, I refilled it with water. I
Oh,
just
okay.
like nice bottles.
Okay. Um, anyway, that was, so the prompt was an invitation to see what exactly this fire is and what you want to bring. What's the revolution, so that you don't have to protect it. And not just not you, but other artists and mystical, what we would call mystical people. So people that are curious, in tune with, and actively progressing towards something beyond the physical reality that we see, what some would call God or spirit or the quantum field. It's saying that what this is kind of like not all there is. So it's not just a paycheck.
Right now, I'm going to call it destiny.
Okay.
At 11:11 today, this morning, I was meditating and my eyes burst open, and I realized a whole nother layer that was based on yesterday's download.
Mm-hmm.
And destiny is a silent, constant voice in my mind. It's silent until I ask for it. Is that true? No, it sometimes gives me unsolicited. Yeah, it's a constant flame in my life. Let's call that the flame. It's a constant flame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's call that the flame. So what has happened, you asked me a question and I have an open loop about it, is since being a child, I've been aware that there must be more than this provincial life. That is probably going to go on my tombstone. I'm probably not going to have a tombstone, but that that would be my epitaph, taff, taff. Um, and it's because I knew growing up in public school with a bunch of kids in their minivans and like the whole normal American life thing, I was like, that was the start of some of the only trauma that I've had in my life was just feeling so different from the crowd. It's been a constant feeling of choking and like self-censoring that has become such a norm that it's like hard for me to even wake up out of it. But sometimes I have a lightning moment of a reminder, or I'll see a movie, or I'll see someone else doing something in a way that I'm like, that's what I am meant to be doing. And I get glimpses and I get reminders. And through the last year and a half being with you, it's been like, oh, that's what I'm meant to be doing. I'm that girl, like from the movie Wish, right? Like did you see it yet?
You wanted to watch it with me, and I said I didn't want to watch
It's,
it. So
it's
yeah, you'll have to tell
it's
me.
she there's this beautiful song that she sings that says uh yeah, essentially that my wish is that there must be more than this.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact wording. I didn't come prepared with that, but um she wants for everyone to get their wish back, for everyone to remember their true wish, which they have given their wish to this man, leader, um emperor type of person, self-proclaimed emperor or whatever. And she wants him to give everyone back their wishes, which is essentially like giving back everyone their destiny, their sense of
Yeah.
destiny. And it's been really important for me to reclaim that. And I have a lot of desire to permiss or give permission to others who I see are in this frequency, which I could call this frequency like a mystical woman, even if they don't know it yet. And so as I grew up from kindergarten onward, I was one of the only mystical people that I felt like were in my life, aside from my mom, who has also been on her awakening journey through my lifetime so far. But then I went to college and I'm still holding this flame, but I don't really know, like, am I going to be an artist? Okay, fine. So I majored in art. So it's not like art is definitely the way I think and I process, but I would say mystic is the constant that art falls underneath. Like mystic is the umbrella and art falls underneath. And um, it was very challenging for me in college because they were like, just paint. And I'm like, you're not telling me what I'm communicating. Like, you don't need to tell me, but guide me. Like, help me figure out what I am communicating, because I'm not just one of these other art students. Like, it really bothers me when I'm just lumped in with like everyone, because I'm like, I'm not like them. I have a very different connection to destiny. A lot of people have a connection to um the American dream slash the veil slash the matrix. Like, they want to be the artist so that they get the followers, so that they get the money, so that they get appreciated by their family, so that they get fame, whatever it is, that's fine. That's never been my thing. And so I have felt very like fish out of water, where, yeah, I have to now make a living, but I don't want to do the art for that. Like, what? Like, how do I plug these things in? And I have not wanted to sacrifice integrity, because integrity is the connection that keeps me to destiny. Integrity is the only thing that I have that reminds me about the true, pure flame that I'm trying to keep alive. So back to college, I don't know what the heck I'm painting. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just figure it out then. And I felt like I was going like a snail's pace, of like, am I painting this? Am I painting that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have the emotional uh development yet to figure out who I am or what I'm communicating. So like, I'm just gonna paint, I guess. Painting is communication of something. So am I just gonna communicate my confusion? Like, maybe, okay. And then I go to Israel, because I'm like, okay, I need to get my spiritual development, and then I'll know what I'm painting. And that was a very good time in terms of spiritual development. A lot of mystical, like I was with my people, like my mystical people. Um, even that, I had to find my mystical people because not everyone there was that. So I found my mystical people, and there was still something missing. It was technique. I had never learned like full technique yet. So I'm like, all right, now I got my mysticism, my like dose of spiritual communication that I want to be communicating, or the first level of that at least. And now I need technique. Okay, how do I do that? So I went to school for 2.5 years of just technical training. And then I felt like my connection to destiny started like that flame started like getting really, really small. And I got scared and I had to get out of that school and recharge my flame. So it's been this like constant thing of like tuning into my flame. Oh, like my whole job is just to keep this flame alive, this connection to destiny. That's my whole job. So now I have to figure out how to make money so that I can keep this thing alive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I haven't had kids yet because I've been keeping this thing alive.
Yeah, this is your kid that you're keeping.
This is
When
my kid.
when you see me in a place of like, I gotta keep these kids alive, that's um it's the same. That's, I think, why I finally understood your, when I was like, why does it seem like you're selfish sometimes when it comes to your art, and you're like, I'm just trying to keep this thing alive. I think I understood and was able to empathize, like, yeah, everything that comes with keeping my kids alive and well is I'm going to be selfish. So if it's between my kid and another kid, or like you experienced me yesterday, I'm like, I'm driving over to that camp because I'll be damned if this camp is like being mean to my children, like, so when you're a parent, you're like ready to fight another 9-year-old just to protect your child. So it's a very interesting feeling in the body. So your version of that is this flame, which you're calling it destiny right now. I've also heard you call the inner artist the inner child. So it's like, what I feel you're actually trying to keep alive is the part of yourself, the kid part of yourself, that never stopped believing in magic. And when we're if you take like a common American thing like Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, is at some point every kid will stop believing in this, and then at some point a adult will come along and be like, hey, I know I've been reading these books and telling you to make a wish on your birthday, and you watched Harry Potter, but just so you know, none of that's real. So then it becomes this separation of, oh, I thought that this is real, that like, or even with the let's take a religion, grew up Christian. Yes, Jesus did those miracles, but that was Jesus. That can't be you. Like, okay, well, so what am I gonna do? Well, okay, so since none of that's real, and I'm supposed to let that go, what is real? What is real is this thing called a checking account and this thing called a credit score. These numbers on these page will determine whether you are a worthy human being to even buy another real thing, which is called your home. And if these numbers aren't good, that means you're not good. And you need to get those numbers up in order to be worthy to have a relationship. Because if you don't have a relationship in this life, you're also not doing something right. If someone doesn't love you, that's proof that you're not worthy of being loved. And once you're done with that, you're supposed to replicate within a certain time frame, and and on and on. Oh, and make sure once you get that thing, you fill it with a couple other things, because it's not good enough just to have a couch. It needs to be the right color of the couch, and make sure you're saving up along you go, so that when you're done working your ass off for all these things, you have what this other real thing called a 401k. So once you're too old to enjoy your life, now you can finally relax with all this money that you saved up from busting your ass for the past 50 years. I say all that to say is you have been rebellious, rebelliously seeking to say fuck no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop believing in magic, um, and start believing that this is the only real thing. You're coming to a connection point where you're like, okay, well, this is part of reality. Yes, I get to figure out how to continue to create some income so that I can live and eat and whatever, so I can keep being in this mystical place.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's a rebellion. You're in a rebellious stage of saying this is all that, like, I hear that making income is important, but I'm here to tell you it's not the only important. If you're just making income and your slogan is soul, skills, sales, sales is at the end for a reason and soul is at the beginning for a reason for your slogan. It's like you start with soul, you know what communication, you learn what you want to say or what wants to be said, then you learn how to say it in the skill, and then you say it in a way that people source it.
Yeah. Wow. This is my favorite podcast episode so far. um, there's so much to say. I'm gonna be a good follow and allow for you to.
Well, the rebellion, let's focus on that. So I know I'm just gonna I this is the story I wanted you to share real quick about getting started in painted, is what the pain point was that led you into painting.
Oh, my breakup.
Yeah. So you used art as an alchemy at first of pain.
Yeah, nothing was working. I had been with my first boyfriend for about a year, and he
Mhm.
wanted to go play the field if we were going to get married because we were 15.
Yeah.
And I'm like, play the field, so you're going to go sleep with women? Like, what? Like, wait.
Yeah.
So I just and then I started seeing him out with this other woman, and I'm just like, okay, so I'm gonna go die. So a big part of this keeping the flame alive is emotions are such an important connection to this flame. Like when we start numbing or even taking antidepressants or any kind of pharmaceutical, I'm just gonna quickly go on a tiny little. If we numb out those emotions, we are now not really feeling. I can't speak to it because I've never been on that stuff, but I I can
Can.
imagine that flame would not feel so visceral. And so emotions are part of the connection to this flame, but they also can be a huge distraction if we're not alchemizing that experience for the sake of the flame. So if I got too into the depression, I would be distracted from my purpose, which is to keep my destiny, keep listening to my destiny. So luckily, I found painting, which helped me alchemize that pain and bring the lens back inside myself rather than just seeing him walking around with that other woman and using my external eyes to like pull me into full on depression. I
Mm-hmm.
was fairly depressed. I had lost 10 pounds, which was a big deal
Yeah.
as a 15-year-old. And I was so sad. So painting was this tool or this vehicle that allowed me to turn my eyes back inside myself. And I also wrote music. I also wrote poetry, like any kind of medium or
That's
vehicle
true.
that takes you back to inside you. That's a great alchemy.
Okay, so that's a great line. I'm gonna go with that. Any vehicle that takes you back inside you to alchemize, and when we say alchemize for certain listeners, it means just changing or transmuting, changing one emotion like fear into love type of thing. Um, anything that brings us back in is your art. So for you, it could have been painting and writing music. For me, it's just writing in general.
Yeah.
Or yeah, writing's big for me. So journaling or speaking, dancing's very fun for me.
Yeah.
Even this modeling thing is like, what a creative outlet. Like just to be a model, or the patient actor job is like I'm acting, like I'm just, it's just something that like changes me, and it's for the fun of it. And I would have not known that without you to speak on meds. Since you met me on meds, I actually did remember telling the doctor, I was like, I want to be numb, is what I told him. I don't want to feel the emotion at all, because it's so hard to feel it. And when I got off of it and I stopped drinking and all that, and then I'm like, whoa, I am feeling immense joy and immense pain, and it's a lot. So your mom says, and I have the pictures to verify, that when you were a child, you looked worried all the time. And you're
Yeah.
like this like 6 month old baby with this look of anxiety, like, what is going on around here? So
What is this place?
it always sounds like you're this child that is walking into the planet, and like you're like minivan, like what is this thing? And even now you'll look at someone, or you'll stick around at a party a little longer, or you'll just like go to taste something just to be like, what is this substance planet? Like you're really trying to figure things out. So although you are a very human person, there's parts of you that act like this is your first time on the planet, and that you're just like, this doesn't make sense, like why are we doing things this way?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like because of that experience of feeling so different than the others, I have studied, I've studied them. Like I call it studying the humans. Like, yeah, of course I'm human. I am a human, but I'm studying like the way that they respond or relate within the matrix, like within the, um, yeah.
Like for
I
you, a conversation, this is a funny one for you because I was one of these people. If there's like two men sitting in if we're at a restaurant, and they're just like going on for 15 or 20 minutes about all the different types of meat that they cook or eat, you're looking at that conversation like it's an alien thing, and you literally say to me, you're like, why do the humans love to brag about the meat that they eat? I don't understand that this is a conversation. Like, where's the, like what happened? And then although I think you'll watch sports just for the fun of it, but like, even like seeing how riled up people get for that type of thing. You don't watch like the Emmys, you don't watch any of that, but you're noticing, you're like, what is going on when what are these people focused on? And when women speak about dating and they're not really in touch with themselves, and it's just kind of like, you're like, both that man and that, oh, when we're watching like what was that, Love is Blind, that show, where we're like watching it and we're like, there's no substance in this conversation. The substance is, you tell me I'm chosen, and I'll tell you that I love you, like this weird contract that they have going on. And you're
yeah,
just noticing all these patterns, which is not unlike me. And I think that was one thing that got us together, is I've also been studying like the mind.
yeah,
I care deeply about what makes people do what they do. Like, why am I doing this thing?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you really love the psychology, which I love it too. I just would call it the uh yeah, I'm in definitely multiple dimensions right now. So
I know. I'm
I
I'm trying to keep you there.
yeah, so essentially to bring it back, I feel that distraction is my greatest enemy. I actually recorded the download that I said
Yeah.
yesterday because I was about to go full on into it. And you're like, wait, do you want to record this? I was like, okay, sure. So I recorded it, and I'm so glad I did because I would not have remembered all of it. But distraction is like my biggest enemy. It feels like my biggest enemy. It feels like the thing I just want to punch in the face. So if I had been raised in a family where all they wanted to talk about was like how they eat meat and like how they care about sports and like what celebrities are doing, I would have probably killed myself. If I didn't have connection to my destiny and have some support that was like feeding that, I just can't imagine making it. It's too maddening for me to lose my connection to my truth. So I don't love the word art, but I started um, the definition of art, or the acronym of art, as aligning radically to truth. So that's my reason for being an artist, because I'm aligning radically to truth. I'm using my medium that I really love. My inner child loves painting. I think visually. I've spent 20 plus years practicing visual creation and manifestation, and I'm really good in that realm, so I stay there. But I also love to write and journal and make music and sing and use my voice. So I just wanted to speak to distraction as like my biggest anger and frustration. And when I can burst out of distraction and burst out of the like saran wrap that's around me, and like the cotton balls that are inside my throat that are just keeping me from speaking truthfully, it's like that is liberation. That's liberation for me. So I'm becoming very clear that I am a guide for other mystical people that may or may not have had the support that I've had in my life. I'm so grateful for the support for those that have seen me and given to me and been generous and still continue to. It's like that has kept me alive
Mm-hmm.
and kept my flame alive.
Yeah. So what do you I have two questions. What is the thing, what is the thing that's most real for you that keeps getting distracted? And what do the distractions look like and sound like on this planet from your point of view?
Yeah. I'll start with the second question first.
Okay.
The distractions look like and sound like. For me, it feels like my headspace is filled up with other people's thoughts. I know that that's one of my superpowers because I've been studying
Mm-hmm.
humans for so long that I know how they think. I know how the ego thinks. I know I can kind of be telepathic, um,
Mm-hmm.
which has helped me, but also just it's so loud. Like my mind just is so loud with other people's thinking, especially because I'm just gonna say it. I'm addicted to Instagram. So because of that,
That's not easy for you to admit out here.
I know,
I'm proud
but
of you.
I've been allowing myself to say that so that it can be the first step. Like the first step of it of
Yeah.
any addict is the recognition of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because of that, whenever I go to make a post that feels like it comes from that true inner essence, wow, it's like a comet that's coming through, or maybe a rocket that's leaving the stratosphere that like gets burned up, and it's almost like the pureness, the truth of it isn't even there anymore, because like there's been so much atmosphere that prevented it from making it. Or a sea turtle that hatches out of its thing and then its shell, and then it tries to get to the ocean, but there's like birds that are picking at it. It's like that's how I feel about getting the truth of my message out, out my throat, out my mouth. I've been so worried about being an outsider for so long, from childhood. That's why I said
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my biggest
Kindergarten.
traumas. Yeah, kindergarten. My one of my biggest traumas, thankfully, is not what a lot of people have had to deal with. It's the experience of just feeling like such an outsider and so afraid to just own the weird thing, mystic, whatever that I am. It's been so challenging for me to do that. And you've
Mm-hmm.
been such a crucial part of that, of giving me that permission slip, and that like, clapping that audience of being like, this is great, this is good, like you should share this. And that's why I wanted to do a podcast with you, because you bring that side out of me that's so authentic.
Yeah.
because if I just go onto Instagram live and like act like it's so hard for me to do that. So the distraction is other people's thinking. I would say that that's my biggest distraction.
Yeah.
Other people's thinking.
So if I was to repeat that back to you, it would be like the monkey mind of the world, the entire world of like, this is what's important. No, this is what's important. No, this is what's important. And you're like, listen, you seagulls, I'm just a baby sea turtle trying to get back to the essence of my life, this ocean. And y'all are, like just trying to stop me.
Yeah.
I can, and I see that, Bill. You get you. One of the ways that manifests is almost resent towards the entire world, not to anyone in particular, but kind of like, how dare you stop me from feeling my life essence?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been on a journey with forgiveness of that. And so that
Mhm.
leads me to the second distraction, which is my own ego. So my own ego. So this is where I'm like, darn it, I actually am a human. Like, oh, and you've seen me grapple with that too, where I'm like, I'm this mystic, I'm this like I'm
Yeah.
from this other realm and I do multi-dimensional traveling, and then it's like I land in the ego. I'm like, God damn it, I just want to be
I
out of
know.
this space.
I know. Then all of a sudden you're like, with Instagram, and I'm not saying this to anyone who hasn't ever thought it, is like whether it's views on a like a reel, and like that the ego that wants views, not necessarily because of fame, but because you want your art out there. It's another thing on a quick segue for an artist, especially a mystical one, that's like, I'm seeking God and humility, but also art was meant to be seen. You're playing this balance all the time.
Yep, that's exactly what it is, because I know that this destiny, this frequency of pure, true greatness, like I was saying to you this morning, it's not my greatness, it is the greatness.
Yeah.
It is greatness. It is so potently, incredibly exquisite, and I love it. And yes, it's going to come through this vessel, but as soon as my ego gets involved, it's like I could be laid out for like weeks just from one ego, or from a series of ego trappings.
Yeah.
My ego is so clever.
Yeah. So
Um,
so when you're in your highest, and when I say in your highest, when you seem the most positive and upbeat and authentic, is when you're able to turn your mind off to a certain degree and like allow things to pass through you, whether that's in dance and you're just not even thinking about what comes next, when you're painting, and even you're like, oh, was I painting a butterfly? Like you weren't even thinking about painting a butterfly. So anytime that you can be in flow is when you feel, when you, even when it's a flow of like sadness, like it's not necessarily your ego, but like if you're like a little sad in the morning and you're able to flow into journaling and then come out of it, you're good. So it's like any type of like hard stop interruption where you're like, wait, I have to use my mind, and someone just sent me a letter about my taxes aren't due on time. Like, what is going on in this planet? Um,
yeah,
yeah, that seems to be when you get a little like sidetracked.
I wouldn't say a little sidetracked. I would say full on despair.
I was trying to be gracious for you. I didn't know how authentic you want to be.
Yeah, it's full on despair.
Yeah.
So I would say I've spent years just dealing with, like, it's a holistic system. What I've been working on is a holistic system. So I've spent years just working on managing my mind, my ego, my reaction to my ego, the wrestling match that happens
Which is
there.
also the ego.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. Exactly. So I've
I'd
really
like, can,
part of being mystic.
all right. Can we stop on that? So when I say ego, when we say ego, there's several different dimensions of what ego can mean. For me, it means like the part of me that associates with my mind, my past, my future, anything that says I am Nick and I'm separate from everything else. So my body, my mind, my memories, my desires, and when we And then it can also mean pride, it can mean conceit, it can mean anything that's like where I make big meaning out of something and what it means about me. And why we talk about ego as sometimes good and sometimes bad is it's not necessarily it's bad, it's just that when we identify with ourselves too much versus identifying with spirit, God, destiny, whatever it is, this is where we start to make decisions. Me and Nadi have noticed this, make decisions that aren't for the greater good or even for our own good. Um, and it's when we make up stories about each other. It's when we say, well, you don't like me very much because of X, Y, and Z. So it's all these things. So that's what she means when she keeps saying ego, and why she's wrestling with it in a way, because it can throw her off track. And I just noticed that I'm totally out of character today and my computer's about to die. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my charger. You keep speaking about the ego and whatever it means to you and what it's
Okay.
like to grapple.
I love that you're saying out of character because that's usually my
I
character.
know.
But I actually have my computer plugged in right now. Um, and way to catch that because you could have not caught it and then this whole thing would come crashing down. So, okay, so regarding the ego, the mind and the ego are like a highway where they're going on hyper speed. Like, there's nothing wrong with the highway, but the speed that you have to travel to be on that highway allows or prevents you from seeing all of the magical things along the way. You're missing the wildflowers along the road and the little towns, and maybe there's someone in the town that you were going to meet that is going to introduce you to something that you didn't realize, and it's going to tap you back into destiny. Like there's all these things that happen on the scenic route that are not happening on the highway route. So the ego, and the reason why it's not that it's bad or that the mind is bad, it's just that it's happening so fast that you're not in the emotional frequency of the heart. And the heart frequency is kind of like a door that opens to full on magic and full on serendipity and God.
Yeah.
It's like this portal to God. And so ego is edging God out. That's the acronym I like for ego, edging God out. And the alternative to that would be, God or spirit or heart or destiny, or I don't know, all these words. If the word doesn't work for you, kind of find one that does work for you so that you can enter into this frequency of the scenic route and the path never trodden before except by you. And it's absolutely exquisitely magical. And you're learning about who you actually are while you're on this journey. It reminds me of in Moana, um, where she's standing at the edge of the water and she already knows every rock and coconut and person on the island, and she knows that everything's good on the island, but there's this journey that she needs to take, and the spirits that she's going to meet and the lessons she's going to have, and all of that stuff is my mystical is the mystical journey. It's the mystical journey that I've been doing in the face of get a job, corporate world, entrepreneurs. This is how you do entrepreneurialism, and this is how you do taxes, and you have to make sure that you've got this many followers and this many email lists, and like all of that stuff. It's not all that stuff is fine when I'm tuned into my destiny or AKA purpose. That stuff's okay because it's like a plug-in, just like, okay, plug this there, that there. Okay. But the destiny is the power. It's the power source, is the electricity. And then the plugs go here and here, and okay, great. Let that electricity flow. But if I'm not tuning into my electricity and I'm only tuning into like the mechanism or the like teach the like learning from other people, that's like I go crazy. That's like Moana being like, I can't stay on this freaking island. So
Yeah.
I've paid thousands of dollars to coaches and all the stuff to learn. And every time I end up in the same place, which is I don't want to do it your way. I just paid another few $1,000s to realize that I don't want to do it your way. I
Mhm.
really freaking don't, because it's not my destiny.
It was funny because you were asking me if you would want to join a course like a while back ago, and you're like, this is what it absolutely works to make money. Like that was like the thought pattern you were in. And I don't know if I talked you out of it as so much as just gave you information that you could figure out on your own. But I was like, listen, if I read a stock book, it's going to say stocks are the number one to make money. If I read a cryptocurrency book, they're going to say cryptocurrency is. If I read a real estate investment, it's going to say real estate investment is. And so on and so forth. Everyone says they have the best thing, just like religion. Everyone says they have the path to God. Um, and it's really about where you are in your power, in your heart, as you were saying, that it's really going to create whatever it is you want to create. So if you want to create a spiritual path for yourself, so for me, I'm a Christian that loves Jesus and chants Sanskrit mantras in meditation, and then um prays, like talks to a tree and Aya. So it's like all these different things that are supposed to be separate paths to God, but I'm seeing a through line through all of them. I'm seeing Jesus in the tree, in the mantra. I'm seeing the mantra in Jesus. I'm like I'm not seeing really a lot of separation, and that's kind of how I do these. Like same with these courses. I'm like I'm seeing the coaching and the meditation and the yoga, like
Yeah.
it's all coming together. Also, one of my superpowers is integration,
Yeah.
and um, so you decided not to do that because you decided it was just gonna be your energy that would get it there. And I think that's what you're speaking of too right now. There's nothing wrong with a business plan, a degree, um, a good credit score, any
Architect.
yeah, all these things are neutral. What you're speaking to um is calling forth, like, but is that from your divine spark? Is that from your heart? Or are you just saying, well, my dad said I should be a nurse?
Right. Um, the metaphor I was just talking about with the highway, my mind will go into like, I need the highway approach so that I can get 200 grand so that I can pay for like my mind is putting it together, and I want that highway approach. So then I take that highway approach, and then I always land back at, wait, now I'm not in my God portal. I'm not in my power portal. And now I have to stop with that coach. I have to stop even watching her because my mind is going to keep going down that highway if I even keep tuning in. And I come back to my heart and I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you again. And it's not just trust my heart, it's trust God, trust my heart. They're all in the same location. It's the scenic route in
Yeah.
this analogy.
I loved your heart and mind thing. And there's this what's wonderful to remember about us as humans is that the heart's actually the first thing that's created in the womb. Somewhere in the first 11 days is when the heartbeat begins, long before the brain is developed. And it's worth noting that the heart has neurons in it, which suggests that it's a thinking organ as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in the medical field, we did what are called electrocardiograms, which measure the electrical magnetic field of the heart. So the heart is emitting its own field. So when your heart is aligned, there's a magnetism that's coming off of it in this frequency. And when you get near someone who's aligned in their heart, you feel it. You feel joy. That's the energy that their heart is emitting.
Mm-hmm.
When you get around someone who has a closed off heart, or like is mired with manipulation and judgment, you feel that too.
Yeah.
but the heart is beating slower than your thoughts are thinking. You're thinking your brain goes through billions of electrical impulses a second. Your heart is lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. And the more you slow it down, that's when everything gets calmer. So your analogy here is like really on point of saying like the mind and the heart get to be together. But if you want to, your flame, you go to the heart. If you want to know how to carry the flame forward, you go to the head.
Yeah. Even even the political system in our country, the left is very hard, very like open wound, like crying, trauma, pain, like
Mm-hmm.
woe is me, woe is them, like a lot of victim energy.
Yeah.
The left, the right is like brain, like this is the way we should close the borders. We
Right.
should turn off that open faucet of money flowing out. Like
Yeah.
they're not working together.
Yeah. They could
If
easily work
we
together.
have to choose one of these, like that's not going to work because going all left doesn't make any sense if you actually play it out, and if you go all right, it doesn't make any sense if you actually play it out.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I've heard it is a left alignment politically allows for growth and progression. But if you have unchecked progression, so we'll use like we can use something like the LGBTQ community. There's if we're always coming up with too many terms, then we actually lose the language breaks down and how I can like speak with you and navigate life with you. So while I'm opening up to seeing someone's life experience, whether they want to be called he, she, or they, if we start adding, I think like in Canada, there's like over 180 different pronouns you can suggestively call someone. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's actually almost chaotic now. I'm actually, I feel like it's hurting what was happening in this progression. But and then the right side is we're about order, and there's nothing wrong with order. Like, hey, let's call this a this and that a that. But then it's tyrannical order, where you can't even suggest that someone is having, again, using transgender. You're not even supposed to suggest that that person's having a different lived experience in
Mm-hmm.
their personhood than what their body is having.
Mm-hmm.
So tyranny and chaos are the out of balance right and the left. And
Yeah.
then when we bring them in and we say, yes, we get to continually evolve and be more inclusive. And we get to do that in a way that doesn't outrun itself and therefore have no foundation anywhere where we can't even function.
You know what this is reminding me of? Syzygy.
Yeah, it's our whole relationship.
This is what the podcast is about. It's about the two parts that like are seemingly not ever going to be figured out how to be together. And you and I are mediators. Like we don't have a certification, but that's what we are. That's what we do. So I think that that's such a great segue to what we're
Yeah.
even doing here.
Well, what are you doing? I know what we're doing, but I want to be really clear on, you've talked about the distractions. What is it? What is
Cool.
your revolution?
Okay.
Your revolution. I have my own revolution that's happening right now. What is
Okay.
yours?
Okay. Thank you for bringing that back. I can see that I was about to leave that and not even tell myself that that was an open loop. So thank you.
Yeah.
Um, all right. What I came to in my download yesterday was the awe and the reverence and the gratitude and the humility to the mother, to the spirit, to Mother Earth. I saw this absolutely exquisite entity that I called um I don't know if I called her Mother Light or what it was, but there's a feminine energy that she absolutely is coming through. And
Mhm.
I can see that there's a lot of different projections onto that and embodiments of that. And we're definitely grappling with what is this feminine energy, and some women are more in the gritty, gravelly, witch kind of
Kali, yeah.
Kali energy, and I respect that. I'm scared of that and respect that, and um I've been scared of that in myself. And yesterday during the download, I was actually embodying it, and I was like in this warrior energy, because there is a warrior energy that allows the status quo to get pierced.
Yeah.
And for me, it needs to be pierced. It needs to be, and it is happening. um it's the veil of distraction and status quo that is suffocating me, and I'm positive suffocating the other wisdom keepers of this planet and suffocating the planet. So I was saying, like, if you're not in the drumbeat and the heartbeat of this planet, in the frequency of supporting the mother energy of this planet, I'm not saying mother in exchange for father. I'm not saying that. I'm not one of those, like, get the men out of here. But if you're not aligned with this heartbeat of the planet and the feminine energy that she wants to come fully in here, and you're not able to have awe and respect of what that frequency is, and humility to that frequency, and an ability to, like, literally bow down and be like, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, then, like, what I said was, like, get out of the way. Like, this energy is happening. It's coming up and through each of us. That's becoming brave, becoming clear. It's actually not about brave, by the way. Brave happens once you're clear. When you're clear, there's no other option but to be brave and courageous. Brave and courageous are like symptoms of this clarity, of this, like, powerful clarity. So yes, that that is what I'm here for. It means that I get to be unapologetic. It means I get to be very disciplined about what I allow into my field,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what distractions I allow in. It means that I might be, using a deeper voice for a while as it, like, really embodies into me. And yeah, it makes me equally, the reason why I know it's not ego is because it makes me as humble, and the humility is as much as the power that's coming in. Like, as the power is coming in, as this greatness is coming in, so too that humility is right there with it, where I'm, like, bowing to the greatness, rather than the ego would say, this is my greatness, everyone, I'm coming out, I want the world to know.
Yeah.
Like, it's not me coming out. I don't care about the likes and the follows and the fame. I don't freaking care. I don't care. It never motivated me, which is why I was never a good student in any of these entrepreneurial coaching containers, because that doesn't motivate me.
Yeah.
That was always a means to an end. But once you tap into the end, you do not need to be motivated by that stuff anymore.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is we've talked about like a story from yoga philosophy of Krishna creating a flute out of bamboo, and Krishna being like an aspect of God, like a God incarnate type of thing, and using the flute, and all the bamboo were jealous because they're like, I want to be God's flute, you know? So I'm not hearing you say I want to be God's flute in an egoic way. You're saying I submit to carving myself out. So if God wants to blow a fire, a dissolving Kali fire in this moment, I will allow it. If it wants to blow a mother tenderness, I will allow it. I'm going to submit. If it wants to blow a bestseller, I allow it. If it wants to blow complete bankruptcy, I allow it. Like, you're allowing it. You're like, it's not about me. It's about what wants to be born through me.
That's it.
And I felt that too. And it's interesting because it's mirrors. You asked me. I sent a message to our friend this morning, and I showed it to you and you're like, that seems really like alpha facing off against alpha. It seems like you're trying to start a fight. And I told you this was after meditation. I was like, listen, I know that's what it seems like, but this is my post meditation saying the wisdom here is like, yes, it needs to interrupt what the behavior is. So the only way it's going to interrupt if it's abrupt and direct and like and it ruffles that person's inner world so that we can actually talk. That's what will create the conversation. But first it's interruptive and it's just like self-defense. The first strike is to stop. After that, then you're like, okay, now we can see what's here. So
Can I tell you why I'm smiling?
why?
We had a fight this week, argument. I don't think it was a fight, but it was a disagreement, a strong disagreement, and
It was a fight.
it was a fight. And
I perceived it as a fight. I was ready.
we called on our most handy dandy Morgan for a session, and she sorted us out. She played referee, and it was amazing, and I love her. And the reason I'm smiling is because the way you just exactly talked about how you had to interrupt the behavior that Jordan, sorry, oh my goodness,
I'll give this to you to edit.
was exhibiting. I interrupted your helix.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how it's not that that person is bad, it's that the behavior was, you were needing to interrupt that behavior, and that's what I was doing with you. And it's one of these kind of advanced mystical traits that we're still refining. It's not that I did it well,
Yeah.
but we're
Well,
refining.
yeah. The refinement is in the nuance. So this is how I describe a nuanced energy when I'm using an interruptive action that feels aligned versus one that feels self-serving. Interruptive action that I do from a calm place of like, I'm not afraid of your next reaction. I'm actually not even really afraid of what you're doing now, but I can see it's not serving. So I'm going to like just do something, say something that shifts this, and I'm able to maintain my composure through it. Versus, I'm going to interrupt you because you're bothering me.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're being an instrument. Back to that, is that's why you brought this up. Is I think that's why you brought this up, is because we're being an instrument. If Kali comes out, okay, use me in that way. If tender mother comes out, use me in that way. And having like a really versatile tool belt of archetypes to, or like, let's say an archetype is like a language. So someone who's multilingual has a lot more ability to communicate in a lot more people. That's the same thing as having a versatility with a lot more archetypes.
Yeah.
Is having a lot more spacesuits to try on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's so like the Israel Palestine thing going on right now is going on right now. That's been going on for many years, but
Thousands of years.
The current war that's happening is this idea, like I won't post things that don't feel aligned, that feel self-serving, that feel just like kind of what everyone else is doing. But I will post one like yesterday where it was like, this is the kids in America asking for $1 million, and these are the kids in a different country asking to see their brother again who died. Like, that was a purely like, this was meant to come through and be a little interruptive and say, there's something wrong with our world, which is what you're saying. There's a distraction happening where kids in America are already thinking about having millions of dollars. My son is one of those kids. He's already caught on to the distraction that money matters If you're going to be someone that matters, you better have money. That's the distraction. And it's sad because I don't want him even thinking about money at this age. I want him thinking about being a kid, about
Yeah.
enjoying himself. I don't want to project on him that you need to do X, Y, and Z so that you can get a good job. I want him to be ready for life, but there's different variations of that. So going back to you, is I hear you saying you want to be an instrument of God, and
Yeah.
one of the songs that you're hearing wants to be played through you is there's more than this provincial life.
I was just gonna say that is showing your kids there's something different. There's something else. And it's been hard for me to really speak that out in a big way because my ego told me that I need to have achieved some kind of level of success to
Right.
allow other people to trust me. So that's been a big barrier for me of like, well, how's your son gonna trust me if I'm not like what his version of success looks like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how is he gonna know that it's safe? And I would say your whole family has changed since I have been in your life.
That's because
And
you're a great purifier.
yeah, and from your ex-wife, who we have a great relationship, she and I have a great relationship, to your children, to the way that you parent your children, to the way that you handled the relationship with your ex-wife, like all of it, and probably your mom, all of it has shifted. And I haven't even had to, have a certain level of success. It's just the instrument that I'm being used for,
That's who
you know?
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a concept in yoga of like uh it being 100% um a religion of experience, not a religion of God. So
Yeah.
in my meditation and what comes out of it, I trust fully because it's happening in 100% relationship with myself.
Mhm.
And when I speak to meditation, even with veterans, where I'm actually, my ego's telling me like, hey, I'm supposed to be a certain type of veteran. I'm supposed to be kind of like rough and tumble or something like that. Like there's one I always compare myself to that I look up to. And I'm like, but that's not what's coming from my meditation. What's coming from is joy, connection, and trust. So I get to be that person instead.
Right.
And and I'm getting asked questions that are landing when I answer them because it's coming from this personal experience. And that's what you're doing too. You're not speaking from, so you got distracted by the idea that you had to be like a PhD in something to be speaking to how the world could be, instead of being like, hey, my personal experience, which I trust fully, is that when you never give up your flame and believe in magic, magic will still happen.
And I haven't been able to trust it fully, by the way. And I love that statement that you just said. It was so powerful. And I it's been a real journey. I would say the third thing, besides for distraction and my ego, which this kind of is my ego, is feeling like I don't know that I can trust. If I'm so different than so many other people, I'm going in such a different direction. I'm going north and everyone else is going south, or vice versa, or whatever. How am I to trust this? We're not trained in this planet to trust our unique individual experience. We're actually taught the exact opposite.
Right.
Since being a child, it's your parents know best, your teachers know best, your friends know best, your coaches know best, your professors know best, your partner knows best, your
The
all.
majority rules, essentially. If
Yes.
if this many people are doing it this way, then it must be right,
Yeah.
which has some level of truth, Like there's something going on. You don't just need to like destroy the whole system. You can just look at it and be like, well, what does work from the system? Let's keep that, and then throw out the junk. And
That's the order. You're speaking to order. Yes, order. Yes, that's the order. I'm not here to be like a full-on anarchist. I appreciate order. I
yeah,
appreciate the masculine structure, boundary, that kind of thing. And I'm here to also bring a certain level of chaos to that order.
you're just
And
saying, can we bring the magic back to it?
yeah,
Which involves some chaos because it moves in cycles, it moves in nuanced change, it moves in like, hey, we're gonna, you know, it will being with you is very much like you just kind of there's like this wave. You just kind of get used to it. But the the point is, yeah, I see you looking at the world and you're just like, we can do better. And honestly, it's where I'm at too. And I'm doing it a different way. Like I'm seeing Kali wants to move through you, and that is very much part of Mother. And I have just the masculine side as their destroyer self as well. But I'm seeing like the masculines being called to be kind of this. I'm seeing like a half moon bull where we're still anchoring that Kali. Like we're gonna anchor it while it's happening so that it doesn't destroy everything. Um,
thank you for that because I'm working on our logo and that's totally going to go in our
oh
logo. Thank
wow,
you.
you're welcome. Um, yeah, so there's a lot here. I feel we're coming to a close end here in the next 10 minutes, but you're a mystic and you've chosen to be an artist. And I see you wanting to speak the people you're choosing to speak on behalf of, just like I'm choosing to speak on behalf of veterans. You're choosing to speak on behalf of other mystics and artists that probably feel the same exact way, that are about seconds from blowing out their own candle, their own light, because they see the rest of the world is telling them, that art thing is good, that music thing is cool, that horseback riding thing that you love is nice and all, but you can't live off of that. You need to go be a pharmacist today, and then you can do that on the side or when you retire. So they're getting ready to blow it out, they're getting ready to throw it to the wind, and you're saying no, don't. And you're here to stand for that,
I
which you
love
don't have the how. You're not saying that you always have the how. You're actually still figuring out the how, but you're saying by the way of being, by the way of um rebellion, to say I'd rather die than blow out this light.
yeah. If I blew out my light, I would absolutely rather die. I I understand why people do commit suicide because without connection to their flame
Mhm.
and without a light in that tunnel, it's not worth it.
No. And I, as speaking from someone that has almost done that twice, it's true. I wasn't connected to my flame. Now, if that thought was to even enter me for a second, I'd be like, what's going on? Like, we've
Because
got,
you're so
yeah,
connected to it
yeah.
and you have support now.
Mhm.
So
But
a
it,
little bit of
yeah,
light goes a huge long way.
yeah, yeah. And I'm still learning, and there's still pieces that yet to be discovered. But the reason I stand for you so much in this work is because of what it changed in me. So to know that it's possible to I mean you've thought of like muggle to magic type of thing like that, that we all are magic, and it is still a personal choice to touch that and to believe that and to trust it, but on some level, like this whole moment is magic, even with our Zoom, our microphones. Like there's nothing about this moment that isn't pure miraculous, like miracle.
I think it's miraculous and there's so many layers to how miraculous it is. But one of the ways is just that we are using Zoom, such a basic format, such a basic mechanism, and we're doing this level of authenticity anyway. It's like, oh, what the fuck, go for it anyway. We are not, the miracle right now that I'm just in awe of is that you and I have not allowed for the mechanism to stop us from speaking this, in my opinion, the most clearly I've ever spoken publicly, the most authentically I've ever spoken publicly, the most clarity that I am standing in, and the most unapologetic, not thinking, but just being like that. I'm using Zoom and like the easiest mechanism. I don't have a microphone. I don't have like, I literally don't have anything except something that most people have access to, which is Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to put this on Spotify. And that's miraculous to me. Like that we're allowing that to happen without putting oh, it can't happen because
Perfect.
it's not that person's podcast or that person or all the other persons. How could we even dare have a podcast? How could we even dare speak authentically, publicly? There's already so many people doing it. Like
Yeah.
the reasons why not, we know them. We all know them. It's one of the most common occurrences on this planet is that we all know the reasons why not. And the reasons why too are
They're hidden.
not, they're so hidden and they're almost not worth it when you don't plug into your destiny. When you plug into your destiny, the mechanisms all, like I could do this on a cassette player, like, you know, like the
Yeah.
most basic.
Well, and I want to acknowledge this for everyone. It's scary to find when you have 20,000 reasons why not that are so easily known, and that one hidden why too, but it's like the world hasn't caught up to, so you're like, why we're doing this podcast, why too,
Yeah.
and we have no idea where it leads. And it's scary to invest time like this and then be like, but I didn't do anything to fill my bank account. Like the distraction comes into it really quickly and floods. It's like a floodgate. You let one distraction in, and it's like, where the hell did these other 50 distractions come from? Um,
They
but
replicate quick.
yeah, but so there's the why too, but yeah, Zoom and even our mentors of ours that we thought we needed a website, and I'm like, wait, you're a celebrity stylist, you have zero website, you have zero, like your payment platform is just Stripe and you just make the offer in person, you don't post anything about your styling. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, so I didn't even need to create a website to do what I was doing. I could just say, hi, I'm Nick, I'll teach you meditation, or I'll coach you through intimacy, and make an offer. So
And
it, yeah, we
we were
make it
talking
hard.
we were talking last night about the difference in the body when you're thinking only about the how versus when you are in the magic and the being and the destiny and the truth and the purpose and power.
Yeah.
So we were making an analogy to like orgasm. Like if you're just thinking, I know. For me to bring this up is a big, this is how tapped into destiny that
I was wondering, are we going to talk about the phytoplankton or orgasm?
so if you're just thinking like orgasm, when's it gonna come, when's it gonna happen, like if you're really in that space, you're not in the same body as the one who actually can experience that orgasm,
Mm,
because the one is connected to that highway space of the mind, and it's going so fast that you're not going to experience the embodiment of the sensations and the muscles and the listening, the deep listening that is required for your body to actually house that kind of power.
yeah.
It's actually a really great example of this. So
Yeah. And
if
a lot of men specifically will, you think of like going, going down on a woman, will be like, what is it going to take to get her to orgasm? And that's often, you'll hear women describe like not liking that fast friction, or like like they're just, something's off with that mentality of when are they going to orgasm and trying to get them there, versus exploration and nuance and deep listening is actually probably the way. And that's what you offered me. Like, what if I approached my life as this exploration and nuance, like I do with making love, as far as like your, like I'm not looking to run to a certain spot. I'm actually seeing what's here right now and seeing what works. And then we also spoke about the phytoplankton as we went to that dock, and it was like, I don't know what, I felt like I was on mushrooms. Um, and you were just pointing out, you're like different right now. You're just sitting here staring. You're not trying to do anything. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
it's that's the childlike magic that we
Mhm.
all experience as children. And yeah, the reason why I call this flame the inner child is because the inner child is connected to God,
Yeah.
just naturally connected to nature. And and the children should be teaching us. The children that are coming into this planet and that have been coming into this planet
Oh
are
yeah.
so connected in with God. Like your son is a little shaman.
Mhm.
Like I want him to teach me about how to connect to Mother Nature rather than me teach him anything about from a book or from a
Yeah.
classroom.
Eli
Like,
too.
yes,
When I told you he did that mantra, and then I was like, I could tell he was in it. I was like, did you see anything? He's like, yeah, I saw the monkeys of the earth helping humans get the antidote to restore Mother Nature. I was like, yep, sounds about right. And I was telling him, I told him, I was like, that's a gift from God. When you're in meditation, if you see things, it's a gift. Um,
I have this I have this fire that comes through me. Like I can feel it now. It's like it's very, very fiery to think about how many children are being misdiagnosed as needing pharmaceutical or something to make them focus. They are exquisitely tapped into God, and with the right kind of um, raising, with the right kind of guidance, they are the exact potency that's going to liberate this planet. And it makes me so
mhm.
angry to think about how many are getting put on medicine. It's the same way that women have, or people who
Yes.
are mystical and powerful have been put on in insane asylums. Or it's like I have so much anger and rage at the control of what's so pure and so potent and powerful and connected in with God. And that's part of my fire for sure. Like I
Um,
cannot stand seeing children raised by people that just are trying to plug them into this corporate matrix. It's so maddening to me
yeah.
because I know that there's
Well,
more.
and this is where the nuance meets the refinement too. You're mad at them, but they're also trapped.
I know.
So it's like we're mad. Um, when I was growing up Christian, they said it's not the humans were, I'm paraphrasing, it's not humans that we're fighting against, it's the principalities in the spiritual realm that were actually there. So don't be mad at these parents, liberate them as well,
Yeah.
connect them to their inner child, which is what you did with, so you're saying my whole parenting changed. You could have just been mad at me, which you were a couple times,
Yeah.
and instead you connected me in, which helped me. And then I'm still a dad. There's still, I haven't lost my logic, like don't run in the street, kid. Like, and then
Yeah.
and yeah, so like also you get to like you do get to read and go into the fourth grade and read your 112 words a minute. You get to do that too, and you get to be a little shaman. You don't, those two don't have to be exclusive.
A
So
little shaman.
and they gave me my kids got born into a family where if one of my sons does have special needs, that I was the type of person that was going to block teachers telling him he's wrong, he's bad, or he needs medication, and I was going to find another way. Um, and meditation, as you were speaking, I remember reading this quote maybe 4 years ago, and I thought I'd be so cool if I was the one that brought this in. Is that it said if every 8-year-old in the world was to learn meditation, we would have world peace in one generation. And I'm like, well, now I'm a meditation teacher. So,
For
and we're
8 year,
talking
yeah,
about this. So I'm sure it's part of the plan.
yeah,
I don't know what part, but
yeah. And I also want to see prisons having meditation and some kind
yeah,
of recuperation, rehabilitation, so that they don't just continue being in that
yeah,
controlled state, that constricted state where they're not connected to destiny. If every single person connects to their destiny, there is freedom and liberation for all on this
for sure,
planet.
for sure.
That's what I'm here for. I know very clearly that I came to this lifetime with a mission and a purpose. That's why I have kept my flame alive in the face of so many challenges. And
And in that flame,
yeah, and you know what? When I can connect in with that, it doesn't matter what all of the metrics and all of the mechanisms are. Like I'm thinking of previous versions of myself that I cared about metrics and mechanisms of like, well, where and how and what and how am I gonna brand that? Like all of that doesn't matter when you are tapped into the electrical outlet of destiny.
I love it. Yeah. Well, this is also where we surrender, because we don't know if the liberation will happen in our lifetime. Like our friend Brianna said, I'm open to the miracle, and I'm open to just playing my part, to carve out who I am so that God can play its song through me.
Exactly. I'm here to keep my eye on the results without being attached to the results.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with that, mystical artist Nadia Markshafted. I always am tempted to say Nadia, which is anyone that's listening, if you ever meet her, it's not Nadia, like the Russian spy. It's Nadia, like you're saying Nadia head like this.
Nod your head like
And it's
this.
spelled Nadja, which is a whole other thing. Um,
It's
but
spelled Nadja, but it's pronounced Nadya.
yeah.
And it's 2 syllables, not 3, as the common name Nadia. It's just a 2 syllable Nadia.
Which is why I just call you Naughty rather
Yes.
than worry about the nuance
You
sometimes.
can also call me Naughty. I'm very happy to be called Naughty, and it's a very endearing thing when someone decides to call me that. And Naughty are the nodes in the body through which prana or life force energy or spirit energy enter into the body and flow like rivers into the body. So that is one of my favorite names.
Which in Hebrew it means river of God. Is that correct?
My name, Nadia, in Hebrew means movement of God.
Movement of God. Your middle name's the river.
And my middle name is the river.
Yeah.
And then my name in Arabic in Morocco is ripe.
Right.
So I am feeling very ripe
Yeah, I agree.
to flow this God movement like a river, like the Euphrates River. My middle name is Efrat, like the Euphrates. And like the Euphrates River that came from the Garden of Eden, I am here to flow this pure energy, this pure God energy movement into this world and be used by God as an instrument.
Yeah. All the distractions are just the grunties.
It cut out. What did you say?
All the distractions are just the grunties, as our yoga teacher would say. Any type of block in the nadi is a grunty, which I think is always funny because it rhymes with like grunting.
Yeah, a grunty is like a blockage. So
Yeah.
yeah. The blockages have just driven me nuts. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Nadi, for doing this. Do you want to have the last word?
I want to thank you. I want to thank you so deeply, so much. You have been such an incredible mirror for me, to be able to do this work that I do. I'm sure everyone can see how much honor and respect you bestow upon me. And I don't know how I would have done this without you. I've had previous relationships that did not honor or see the mystic in me and certainly did not fan the flame or make it easier for me. And that is why I'm going to give a quick shout out to our upcoming course. That is why we are so passionate about helping women, being mystical women and powerhouses and wisdom keepers, how to be in a relationship with a man and have honor and respect from him without, like, all the grunties, without all the obstacles, so that he can see you as a goddess and as a whatever archetype you resonate with, literally whichever one, that he can respect and honor that and see why, kind of how to develop the communication so that he can see why you're doing what you're doing and who you're being, so that he can make your life easier for you and actually be here to facilitate this feminine rising that's going on this planet.
Well said.
So thank you, Nick, for being such a great, amazing representation of what it is to support this energy. Um, you have only ever supported me, and I'm so grateful to you.
You're welcome. Anytime. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining this episode, and we'll see you next time.